And good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome to the special edition episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. So I know that there are a lot of people in the chat or hopefully here already, and they're wondering, hey, Boom, is there going to be a show on Thursday? And yes, indeed, there is going to be one heck of a show on Thursday. Not only am I going to be accompanied by the regular co-hosts known as Zemi Games and the Welsh Gamer, but we're going to have Mads Gaming on to talk about some technical specs of the Xbox Series X. And the show that I have written is going to be really, really good and a lot of fun to talk about. Now, obviously, today we're going to be talking about, this isn't going to be a 2-hour show. It's probably going to run about 60 minutes. If you happen to be in the chat and I'm not there yet to see, I want to welcome everyone for taking the time for this impromptu podcast. I'm not expecting a lot of views, to be honest with you, but I was really chomping at the bit after last night's primetime gaming to talk about Phil Spencer, how he pulled a Sony, and more importantly, what Sony did at CES, and we will get into that in a second. Now, I have been taken to task by several community members that have accused me of trying to have only Xbox panel members on the show. And I want to make sure that everyone gets a fair shake on Sony's side. So I invited BitCloud Gaming. Now, obviously, BitCloud Gaming isn't here yet. He has confirmed his appearance. Now, you know him as being an incredible trophy hunter. He's also someone that enjoys getting platinums on the PlayStation, system. And he's more so than not a PlayStation centric gamer. So he had a very interesting video that went up this morning that I watched, and I do suggest everyone get out there and check it out. It breaks down what happened and his opinions on it. So I wanted to invite him here to get his take from a Sony's, a point of view, so just so I can, make sure that all the boxes are checked. So as we wait for him, I want to introduce Zemi Games. Now, you know him as one of the bravest gamers this side of Texas. He's looking forward to Resident Evil 3 and the rest of the remakes that will be coming. And he's also part of the Xbox Factor podcast on a regular basis. Zemi, welcome to today's special edition episode.
Well, thank you so much. I had no idea this was even happening until like 20 minutes ago, but I'm super excited to be here. And I have been slowly looking up all the highlights of the CES, and hopefully I'm prepared. But thank you so much for the invite.
Well, I mean, listen, again, this is this is one of those impromptu kind of a shows. We're not expecting to get a lot of views on it. We're not expecting to have a tremendous amount of people in the chat. Now, if that happens, well, hey, that's freaking awesome, and I have zero problems with that. But there are a lot of things that happened, and because obviously this is an Xbox-centric show, we're going to be looking at what happened yesterday from two different points of view. One, of course, being the Xbox, which right now has all of the mind share of gaming. And there's a lot of excitement. What's happening with Xbox, Zemi, is unprecedented, especially if you hearken back to 2013. They were playing catch up the entire generation. Now, granted, they never caught up in regards to sales, but they have caught up in different things, in services with Xbox Game Pass, bringing, Project xCloud to a beta, which I happen to be playing it right now, not as I'm doing the show, but I'm playing it. I have it, and it is amazing. And of course, obviously, what they did on December 12th is probably, in my personal opinion, I'm stealing a page right out of the Iron Lord's, podcast book, where Cognito, the main voice of that show, basically said that he believed that this was Phil Spencer's shining moment. And I would agree. I think that this is the cherry on top of the sundae that has been going on for the last 18 months. And, in very unlike Phil Spencer fashion, he did something yesterday that really took the internet by storm. And I want to talk about that because basically, as you can see in the title of the show, I said that Phil Spencer basically pulled a Sony. And what do I mean by that? Well, very simply, you look at what Sony has done in the past, right? And Sony has in the past, every time, and I mean almost like clockwork, every time Microsoft would put some new information out there, some new news, some information to try and get the fan base excited about Gears or about a controller or about a new hire or something relevant, Sony would be keeping those aces in their sleeves and they would drop them to try and steal the thunder away from Microsoft, retaining that mind share. And that is what I'm going to talk about next. Now I'm going to bring up his picture from Twitter. And as you can see, this is Phil Spencer's header as well as his picture for Twitter. And what's there is what stopped the internet in its tracks. And that is the chip for the Xbox Series X. And wow, I mean, Zemi, I know that you obviously, you try to keep your ear to the floor. You do your own videos. You have your own amazing channel. What were your thoughts when the internet basically cracked open and went wild with excitement when they saw this?
I mean, it's just like Xbox just has so much, and I said this in a previous podcast, they have so much ammo to be used. And this is just another, example of that. They have so much stuff that they are just willing to throw out there. It's almost like Phil Spencer is Santa Claus and he's still going around giving people presents, right? They just have so much stuff to get out there. They don't even have to try to hold it all until E3. I think Phil Spencer specifically said that, every single of these new gaming events that they're going to, they want to show off a new game. So that just proves that they just have so much in the pipeline that they want to share with us. And that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's again, what's happening for the Xbox brand is something that many of us, and first of all, we have almost 125 people in the chat. So thank you everyone for being here. I have to shout out a couple of really cool people. Lady Foxfire, got to have her back on the show. She is your resident Gears fan. Lethal Papa, the enforcer, known as the guy that doesn't take any shit in the chat, and why he is one of the best moderators this side of the universe. And I just want to really just take some time to thank everyone for being here. Again, this was a little bit of I woke up this morning excited. I woke up, to feeling like I needed to do another live show because obviously I don't like the video thing. It takes a lot of time to produce. And I'm not saying I don't like the results. I just think that I would rather much grab the public, and I feel more balanced and strong behind the microphone talking about it. And obviously, being that this is a show that came out of nowhere, there are no show notes. So this is raw, Boom at its finest, hopefully. But getting back to what you were saying, I agree with you, Zemi. I think that right now, Microsoft as a company, Xbox as a platform, and the fan base as fans have a lot to be excited about. And right now, like I said a few seconds ago, what is happening in regards to mindshare and excitement and laughter and and information is unprecedented. It's something that we've all been waiting for. It's something that we are gonna, I believe they're gonna continue. And I am really looking forward to seeing more information. I actually cannot wait to the next event, Zemi, because like you said, they were very specific about saying that they at every new event that happens in 2020, we're going to get a new game of some sorts. And that is really saying a lot, considering that we are 6 months out from E3 2020, which should be one of the most banana shows ever in the history of the show.
Oh yeah.
For you personally, though, I mean, like, getting back to the mind share scenario that we've discussed on last week's show, we're going to be talking about power and what it means for the Xbox versus the PlayStation 5 and on Thursday's show. Are you seeing the same excitement that I'm seeing on Twitter?
Honestly, there's a reason I have only 500 Twitter followers, and it's because I don't go onto Twitter super often. So I haven't really seen everybody's excitement yet, to be honest with you. But I did want to touch on something that you actually said before with the whole mind share and Xbox coming out with all these new different things. It really seems like they do not want to drop the momentum. You know what I mean? And momentum is so important. I mean, it's important. It's important in sports. It's important in business. It's important in a ton of different things. And they really seem like they want to keep those headlines up. They want to keep their fans excited with all of this new information. And they do not want to lose the momentum as what PlayStation kind of seems like they've kind of somewhat done. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. But as far as the Twitter, I really do not, I haven't seen all that stuff on Twitter yet.
Okay, I mean, listen, it's obviously Twitter is tough to to navigate. I'm on it all day. Like I said, for an old man, I've gotten this social media thing down pretty good, and that's surprising. My wife said, like, my God. Boom, Craig is my first name. If no one really knew, you're always on that phone. My God, take some time. So of course I have to put it down in the evening to give my wife the proper attention that she deserves.
We're doing this backwards. Like, I should be like addicted to social media. You shouldn't be.
I should be the old man. Be like, yeah, you and your social media. So listen, I want to bring up a shot of of the chip. Obviously, this has been going around town, and obviously there are a lot of things about the chip that people are they want to know more about it, and I think we're going to get to know more. But I just want to kind of touch on how silently but deadly Phil Spencer changed his picture. Again, folks, we're not talking, he didn't cure cancer. He didn't, swoop down and save a train from falling off a cliff. He just changed his Twitter picture. And because he is who he is, there wasn't really any fanfare behind it. But again, I just think he pulled a Sony. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to say that this was maybe it wasn't meant to be a power move, but my God, I think it was. I think it was exactly what you just said. They do not want to relinquish the mind share with the community. And I'm not just talking about the Xbox fans. I'm talking about the Sony fans. I'm talking about the Nintendo fans. I'm talking about the trifecta fans like myself who support multiple consoles, enjoy multiple consoles proudly and openly. But of course, the mainstream media. Now, obviously, the mainstream media is what really propelled the PlayStation 4 into stardom. I mean, obviously, I'm not taking anything away from the fact that, yeah, the PS4 was more powerful than the Xbox One. They did have, again, this is different opinions, folks. Better first-party games. Some people may disagree with me on that. That's perfectly fine and understandable. I enjoyed every one of their first-party games. Took lots of pictures, went on social media about it, really enjoyed what Sony brought to the table, and still at the same time enjoyed the first-party games that Microsoft brought this generation. Even though a lot of people shit on those games, I actually beat every one of them and enjoyed all of them. But this is a different Microsoft. This is a different console. This is obviously going to be a new generation, even though the next generation, quote unquote, doesn't start until these consoles are released in the fall of 2020. But the more we hear about it, the more excited I get. And, obviously we can't really spend a gazillion years on the Phil Spencer topic, but I do want to get your final thoughts on your opinion on the move that he did. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this was a subtle power move to retain, the mind share of the community, both wide and close?
Yes, I think it is 100%. I think that he intentionally went and changed his Twitter picture to that chip to garner a lot of attention from the fans, especially going in straight before the CES event. I think it was definitely to keep what you're calling the mind share, to keep the momentum, to keep people talking about the Xbox brand. And, I think it did fantastically. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later about PlayStation, but I think if PlayStation would have came to CES a little bit stronger, it wouldn't have had that same impact that I believe that we think it had.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, listen, I'm going to sit here and tell you, and this isn't poking fun, folks. This is someone that has already put a good chunk of money away for his PlayStation 5. And I have a good chunk of money already put away for the Xbox Series X. I'm getting them both day one. Unfortunately, for one, I'm going to have to figure out what games I'm going to get to, and of course I'm talking about the PlayStation 5, because obviously they're going to launch with some hopefully very impressive games. I mean, Godfall already looks amazing. That's being obviously marketed by Gearbox, and they showed it off obviously during the Game Awards, and the game looks very Destiny-esque, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But that's a timed exclusive, and that's fine. I'm interested to know what Bluepoint is going to be doing and what bringing to the table for launch titles. I mean, I think it's safe to say from what we heard, Sony really doesn't have anything, and that is very unfortunate. I was hoping that Horizon Zero Dawn would be a launch title, and I would be knee and neck deep into that because I love that franchise. And if you've been following this channel long enough, you know that I was one of the few people that continuously champion that game, even though I've gotten booed numerous times by plenty of people. But I like the game. It's just,
you like what you
likes. Yeah, exactly. Everyone likes what you like. But on the Xbox side of things, and I kind of want to just pivot a second. We talked about this late last night on Primetime Gaming. It was a fantastic episode, and we talked about the potential for a launch lineup. And I'm going to load up my teleprompter right now, and I'll just keep it going. I'm going to go based on memory. What we talked about last night was the fact that, again, folks, potentially, let me clear the air. This is just complete speculation on my particular point. But when you go on November whatever, and you're going to bring home your Xbox Series X, and if you need to, because of financial reasons, get the lesser powerful console, but you still want to be involved in the next generation, that's why Microsoft is going to have options. They're going to allow
something for everyone.
Yeah, something for everyone, for every budget, for every gamer. And I love that. I love that about this. Again, I'm going to say it, even though a lot of people don't like it, the two-pronged attack that I've been talking about for months. This is the potential lineup. And Zemi, I'll get your opinion on it because we're not going to really bring up the Game Pass on Thursday's show. So we're going to get it out of the way right now. You're going to have, we know that Halo Infinite is going to be a launch title. That's a big deal. We know for a fact, or we can gather the evidence in front of us that we're going to probably get a new Forza of some sorts. Now, some like Randall Thor believe that it might in fact be Forza Horizon 5 because that team turns around a new Forza every 2 years, and obviously there wasn't a motorsport this year. They took that year off to perfect Motorsport 8, or we're going to get possibly Motorsport 8. And so we're getting you're getting your first person shooter with the classic known as Halo on your Xbox console. My God, that's amazing. You're getting the best driving game that was just, we'll talk about it on Thursday, just given that award as best driving game in the entire world, as your visual set piece that's going to give you those 60 frames 60 FPS, blowing your face off in Forza, regardless of which Forza it is, it's still going to be amazing. And this is where we start to get into speculation town. In April, the PC is getting the Gears Tactics, and that's coming to PC. Now, we don't know when that's coming to the Xbox Series X or the S, but I would love to believe that they're holding that back as a launch title for the Series X. And why would that particular trio be important? Well, because that particular trio are the pillars of what holds up the Xbox brand. Now, we've heard it. Some people are detractors towards it. They say, well, just a second, Boom. All you guys, you Xbots, all you have is Halo, Gears, and Forza, and it's tiresome already. Get some new IPs. Well, I mean, to some extent, we all want new IPs, which are coming, which will be here sooner than later. But you have to have pillars. PlayStation has quite a few of them. Back in the days, it was Gran Turismo, not so much now. But when you look at the pillars, in my opinion, that hold up the Sony brand, you look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man, one of the strongest heroes in Marvel. He's holding up one of those pillars. Nathan Drake holds up one of those pillars. The Uncharted series. God of War. Kratos himself is holding up one of those pillars. Now, I'm going to say that it's Aloy is another pillar there from Horizon Zero Dawn, but that's because I'm a big fan of her and the world that she lives in. Some people would disagree, but they have their classic pillars that games keep coming out for, and somehow those are okay. And if you look, if I were to just stop there, Zem, if I were just to kind of pump the brakes and stop right there and say, these are the 3 games that are coming out, what would you say as an Xbox fan?
I mean, I would be happy. I mean, how can you not be happy with 3 games? I mean, I would be happy with just 2. I would be happy. Honestly, I would just be happy with Halo, right? Because, you want as many games to play on that new console at the very beginning of the generation, but you're still going to have all of those games that are still in your backlog that are going to play and look better on that new console as well, right? But no, I would be absolutely ecstatic. And we know for a fact Halo is going to come. I think everyone kind of already knows that Forza is going to come. If I'm going to guess, I would say Forza Motorsports 8, just because.
Me too. I would agree with you on
games,
that. Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken. I'm wrong about a lot of things. But if I'm not mistaken, Playground Games are the people who make the Horizon series.
Yes.
And they're, possibly working on, Fable 4 right now. Of course, they could be working on 2 separate titles at the same time. So I think Motorsports 8 is more likely out of that. And then the Gears Tactics.
I agree.
For me, this is just my opinion. I think, I'd be perfectly happy with them making Gears Tactics a launch title. I think that they should actually just come out with that sooner whenever it's ready. Don't hold it. Because releasing it on PC first and then releasing it as a launch title for the new Xbox, that just seems kind of like a weak launch title for me. You know what I mean? When it's a title that was already released before on the PC, there's just something that just kind of rubs me the wrong way about that. I really kind of wish that they would release that sooner than
I am right there with you, and so is my brother Neo Mental, who's going to be on the show on Saturday as we do the Double Barrel Gaming Presents Game of the Year 2019. He's a huge RTS type of fan, more so SOCOM is his jam, and he was very excited, just like myself, to play. And I'd be honest with you, I'd be a little disappointed if we had to wait to the launch lineup, but I understand why we'd have to wait.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, like, what would get me absolutely jumping from the walls, like I would go mad crazy, is if, and this is probably not going to happen, but I can always have my dream, is that if Fable 4 was a launch title, like I think that would blow a lot of people's minds. Like that would be just like the mic drop. Let's just turn off the lights and go home at E3 kind of moment. Let's just leave the building, in my opinion. So like, that's what I would love to see. But ultimately, as far as the launch titles go, I'd be perfectly happy with just Halo. I mean, so, add in Forza, add in this Gears Tactics game, add in maybe a few second-party exclusives that they've been kind of working on maybe in the background or something, and I would be absolutely ecstatic even more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, I think that There are certain mic drop moments that you look back. One for Sony was the how you trade games. I mean, that's synonymous with a good reason why Sony stole the mind share back then. And the one of the more recent mic drop moments, and I see some people talking about it. As a matter of fact, let me thank him right now because he made mention of it. First of all, Spider-Man, thanks for being here, dude. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out on this kind of drop of spur of the moment show. He drops an outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. He says, "What do you think Sony's reaction was to the XSX reveal?" I think that they were shocked because I was shocked. Zemi was shocked. The 225 people watching right now were shocked because it was very unlike Phil Spencer. It was very unlike Microsoft to do a reveal. It's the only time in all of the Game Awards in the history of that show, when it was on Spike TV and now that it's on, the way Jeff Keighley is running it, has anything ever been done like that? Sure, there's been big reveals, and there's no taking away from that, but no one has ever dropped a console. And what's crazy is that not only did you get the name, not only did you get what the console looks like, you got a chance to see up close and personal what the control looked like. Now that we know we're getting a share button, right? But on top of all of that delicious, banana boat sundae, the cherry on top was, of course, the Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 shown running in-game engine of the Xbox Series X. And I mean, that's a mic drop moment that has, and it's so big, Zemi and Spider-Man, that it's still reeling to this day, and we're almost a month removed from that situation. So it just goes to show you how certain mic drop moments happen. And like I said, I'm not going to take anything away from Sony. They've had more than their share. They've dropped some serious nuggets over the years. Even though it took a long time to get Spider-Man, when we finally got it, it was amazing. No pun intended. When we saw God of War, 3 years before it was released, everyone's like, "Oh, they keep showing stuff." But when we played it, my God, God of War was amazing. Still one of my favorite games in this entire generation. And, they've had a lot of those moments. Now they seem to have just kind of, caught with their pants down, clammed up, don't have much to show, shot their load early. However you want to spin it. I'm not trying to be vulgar or anything, but I mean, think about it. Obviously, the first towards the end of 2019, right? Like in mid beginning of November, anything anyone could talk about was Death Stranding, and for many reasons on the spectrum, right? It was a very polarizing release. There were a lot of people that loathed it, and there's a lot of people that cheered it as the greatest thing since sliced bread. Me, I just was in the middle, and I just, I wasn't going to buy it because it didn't look like it's, even though I love their single player, story driven, adult themed games, it just wasn't for me. Now I'm going to play because my brother Neo Mental is going to sell me his copy. So I'm going to buy his copy from him, and I'm going to give it the old college effort. Now, if I like it, hey, I'll be the first one to say, "Hey, you know what? I enjoyed this game." And if I don't like it, I'll say the same. Listen, I tried it. I put 10 hours into it, and it just wasn't for me. So I sold it, and I got rid of it. I sold it privately. And either way, I'm going to give my honest opinion about it. But getting back to what's been going on, Zemi, and the obviously, just to finish off the question, I think that there are two angles that we have to look at here regarding Sony, and both of them have a negative outlook for their fan base. The first part is that this is an arrogant Sony that felt that because they have market share, because they have just announced 105 million consoles confirmed worldwide, which is incredible, absolutely astounding how well the console did. they rested on their laurels. They were like, we are the shit, and no one is going to knock us off of our throne, right? Now, and if this is the cocky Jim Ryan era, folks, I got news for you. You're going to be more disappointed than excited, because it appears based on the reaction from Sony from December 12th moving forward has been nothing, has been quiet. Like they stepped up, they got beat down, and they're just like, you know what, we're going to chill right now because we don't feel like getting slapped again. Or the second half of the scenario could potentially be, what if Sony was like, you know, Microsoft, nothing to worry about. They're just going to be Microsoft. And, you know, they're probably going to, you know, maybe they have the power, you know, but whatever, right? Nothing's confirmed. And they took Microsoft lightly. Microsoft is hungry. Those hungry companies do extraordinary things when their backs are to the wall. The same way Sony did it. Sony saw an in 2013, right? They saw an in with the misdirection that was the management at Microsoft. They saw that they were going for TV, and and again, don't think for a second, folks, that camera wasn't in the box for the PlayStation 4, making it a $499 console. You bet your ass it was. But they did something astounding. They saw a situation, and they pulled that camera out. They did that. This is how you trade games at the last minute. And they announced that it was a $399 console, where that console was built for games, for the fan base and their games. And that is how they won the generation. Now, roles have apparently been reversed. And this is just my opinion. If you're a Sony only person and you were expecting to just skip into the next generation, that Sony was going to grab your hand and you guys were going to skip harmoniously all the way through until the next generation after this, I got news for you. I don't think that's the case. I think Microsoft caught them with their pants down, so to speak. And I think that they're in a bit of trouble. Now, Zemi, I want to get your opinion, but before I do, I have to thank quite a few people, because several super chats came in, and I want to make sure that I thank everybody. First of all, it's Rer Jr. or RER Jr. 007. He says, he drops an outstanding and very generous $5 subject. He says, what do you think the initiative is working on? Actually, dude, we're going to be talking about the initiative on Thursday, so I don't want to go too much into that, but I definitely want to let you know that if you're going to tune in Thursday, trust me, you're going to be very happy to hear what we're talking about. Scrub Nurse, holy cow. First of all, thanks for being here. This is one of those impromptu shows. I didn't expect to get this many views or viewers for that matter. So thank you for everyone being here. But more importantly, thank you for your generosity. He drops a $5 super chat. He says this. Boom. Sony did exactly what I said they would do on Friday's show. And in fact, you did say that. They showed off a title screen and the fans have shifted to the talking points. Yes, that's a great point. And Keith Boyd, I want to thank you for being here, my friend. Thank you for the outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. He says, donating my extra beer tokens to you. Boom, Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer is coming for you. And you know what? I cannot argue that. First of all, thank you for the generosity, but more importantly, thank you for being here. But now, Zemi, I want to kind of focus on what Microsoft has done, but more so now, before we get into what happened in CES yesterday, what has been absent from Sony, and why haven't we heard anything from them since the 12th of December?
You know, part of me, because you kind of, threw up two of those, speculatory kind of situations of what could happen. Maybe they're, been very, very arrogant. Maybe they just underestimated Xbox. And then part of me also kind of thinks, maybe possibly they didn't think that the new generation was going to come out this soon. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's a great point. That's something I did not even think about.
But regardless of what it is, and it may be a mixture of the both. It may be their arrogance, and it may also be their unwillingness to take Xbox serious. But one way or another, it really, really strongly looks like they are just 110% ill prepared. They don't have enough stuff to talk about. They don't have enough talking points. They don't have enough information to give out to people. It really seems like they're holding everything that they have for E3, which, may turn out in their favor. Like I said, I think it was like the last show I was on, at this, CES, they don't have to show anything. You know what I mean? And I think, honestly, it would have been better if they didn't show anything, to be completely honest. But, they are the leading, console manufacturer right now. They are currently leading the charge of this generation. And, if I was a betting man, I'd say that they're probably going to sell more consoles this new generation than Xbox will. That doesn't mean that they're going to be a more successful company, but of course I think that will rein in some success with their fan base. But even still, I think a lot of it just boils down to their unpreparedness, their unreadiness to actually jump in there. I think that's a big reason why we saw them absent from so many different events last year, that you would almost think that like it would be like corporate suicide to miss out on those on those huge events, but they did anyway. And I think a lot of that's just because they just are not ready for this next generation. I think that they will obviously release the PS5. I think it's going to be a great console. I think they're going to release really good games, but what we're seeing right now just screams that they're just not prepared.
I mean, I would agree with you. I think that without sounding like, someone that's trying to be a fanboy, they do seem ill prepared. And that is very unfortunate. But, I want to move on to, and I was really hoping to have Big Cloud here, because he's obviously a Sony guy. And I really want to buck this trend about, you only have Xbox guys on, but hopefully he'll get here soon enough and he can give us his 2 cents on his thoughts of what happened last night. Real quick, I have to thank Mr. Tushy for the outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. He says, I just want to say I love this channel, Xbox Day One. Well, first of all, thank you for the awesome compliment. I am really glad that you're digging this channel. I am going to say this, and I'm trying to keep myself in the know, to remind myself to say this. Obviously, when you become a content creator, and I've talked about this on a few shows, and I'll just kind of throw it out there, numbers become something that you have to keep your your eye on. It's important for channel growth. And one of the things that this particular channel seems to be struggling severely in is getting people to subscribe that watch the shows. And I only know that because of the analytics that are provided as channel owner and content creator. And and as soon as yesterday, 46% of people that come to watch the shows aren't subscribed, and it blows my mind, because I kind of wonder, am I doing something wrong as a content creator? Am I not doing enough content? Are the shows not long enough? Is the content not interesting enough? I work real hard on this stuff, so I get excited because I'm actually writing more now than I'm actually playing games, and there's nothing, and I don't have a problem with that at all, because I love entertaining, and I love coming to talk with this community. So if you're new, I want to say welcome. I want to say that regardless of what flag you fly, you do have a place on this channel, and that you're going to be welcomed. The only thing that we don't stand for is, using the cap button on a regular basis to kind of, yell your point. We don't like that. We don't like we try to keep this PG-13. I don't curse very often. I do every now and again. So we try to keep that. Anything racist, sexist, homophobic, you get banned immediately. We can't have any of that. This is a welcoming and an inclusive channel. Everyone, and I mean everybody, is welcome here, regardless of sexuality, religion, race, creed, color. I don't care if you're from another planet, you're welcome here. So I just want to throw that out there. So if you are new, I just want to say welcome. And and hit that subscribe button. I guarantee you're going to find lots of fun content coming on a weekly basis. But all right, now before we get into Jim Ryan and what happened last night, I want to bring up a picture. First of all, oh wow, okay, Simon. Man, I hope I don't butcher your name, dude. Simon Bryak, I think it is. Maybe I listen. If I butcher your name, dude, I want to apologize. Simon B has just become a channel member, and I want to thank you for that. That is very, very kind of you to join the Double Barrel Gaming channel. That is, again, we appreciate all the new channel members that have come on since since the holidays. So thank you so much for that. But I want to bring up a picture. Now, this I found on the internet, and there has been some talk that we're going to be getting a reveal, possibly in May, of what the Xbox Series S, as we've all been talking about, it could potentially look like. And if I had the person's name, there was no name attached to this. I love giving credit where credit is due. As you can see, I can actually, I want to get your opinion on this, Demi. What are your thoughts on this being the potential size and scope of the Series S, the less powerful, the 4 teraflop console, the the 299 console? What are your thoughts on this picture that I just put on the screen?
Well, to start off, that controller looks so sharp. I mean,
it really does.
I want that freaking controller right now. Like I'm really weird. And if I have like a black console, I want to have a black controller. But part of me is thinking, like, regardless of that, I might just have to go pick up a controller if they make something that looks like that, because that thing just looks amazing. As far as the console, I think it looks decent. It looks good. I don't like how it has the vents on the side.
This is a mock-up. This is not an official thing from Microsoft. So let that be clear.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. But for me, I would want it to have those same vents up at the top that the initial one does, because
I agree.
Those little vents on the side, I mean, that would kill being able to like make those absolutely amazing console art pieces, like the last screen that you had with the Gears and the Halo, just like those look absolutely fantastic. It's just like a blank canvas to just put whatever artwork you want on. And those vents on the side, I'm not
it would probably hurt the design. Well, one thing that immediately jumps to mind that's missing from here, and I think it's expected at this point, is there's no insert for the disc, meaning that this is going to be a digital only console. And I think that at $299 is great, because obviously it's going to have both the new GPU and the new CPU. It's going to be 4 teraflops as opposed to the 6 that the Xbox Series X has, but the 4 is still greater than the 6 simply because of that particular hardware that's going into it. From what we understand, again, this is just speculation from what we heard from different people like Dealer, like Colt, like Digital Foundry, that this is going to be a step up in power to, of course, the Xbox One X that we're playing, that most people in this chat, you and I have it. And first of all, let me just say, Smitty Smith, thank you for being here, dude. He drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says, I just wanted to say hello, Boom, Zemi, and chat. Well, thank you, Smitty. Definitely appreciate you hanging out and stopping by. And of course, thank you for the extreme generosity. But I see your point. Yeah, please, by all means, go crazy.
Well, another thing, and once again, we know like this is not real. This is not an actual design. This is just like a fan mock-up.
Yes.
But I was looking at this and I was like, man, there's something wrong with this. And the Xbox logo up at the top needs to be over on the other side to match what like the Xbox Series X is. But as far, I think your main question, it was like the actual general look of it, like the size of it. Would I be excited with that? And I love the white color. And, I think maybe it might be a little bit, it could probably stand to maybe be a little bit shorter, but overall, I really do like the overall design.
You know what I like about it? I like that again, this is just a mock-up, so we don't know. I have a real strong suspicion that the next the little brother or sister, whatever floats your boat, to the Xbox Series X is going to look similar in in design. Again, that's my opinion on it. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I think that it could potentially, because I think it would be a little off-putting if it looked like a traditional box. You know what I'm saying? Because people were like, well, now that's where the confusion might come in. I think that releasing it being a smaller, shorter version, a less powerful version than the Series X, keeping it in the same format of that tower design and making it white. I think that they should make them different in color as well. I think that if they're both black, that could potentially cause some confusion. So I'd like to see them come out with one being one color, one being the other. I do 100%. See your point about it in hindering the possibility of having a custom console. And if people are asking, the console I'm going to bring up next is the Forza version. Well, look at that. That's gorgeous. These designs come from our Lord and Savior, the Xbox Pope. So if you like his designs, tweet at that man, tweet at Phil Spencer and say, hire this dude ASAP, because his designs are ridiculous. And there are quite a few more. That I'll bring up one more after this. But I mean, listen, do you agree with me? Do you think it needs to be a different color? From
100%.
Okay, you do agree. Okay,
well,
great.
Obviously, from a marketing standpoint, it makes the most sense. You definitely want them to be different colors. You don't want to confuse people. And I'm not saying it's going to be super, super confusing, but it's going to be easier for people to recognize the difference. Especially walking into Walmart, and seeing if they have it in stock or not. Like the specific one they're looking for. And I just think it makes sense. And traditionally and historically, that's what Xbox does, right? All the way back to the 360. They started off with white, then they transitioned to black with the Elite. This console generation, they started with black, they went over to white with the S, and then they went back to black with the One X. It's just kind of what Xbox does. So I think it makes sense from a marketing standpoint. It's going to help consumers, and it's just what Xbox kind of does. So yeah, I think it makes a whole lot of sense, and I definitely believe Xbox is definitely going to do that.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that we see more. I'm hoping, again, we're gonna talk on Thursday's show about the event that I believe is happening. Some evidence that has that basically.
You know what I just thought of?
What's that?
Okay. This Sea of Thieves console, that's awesome. That's great. But what if they would have made it look like a chest? Like on its
Holy
side.
moly!
Maybe
Yeah,
like
we gotta. I gotta reach out to the Pope and ask him to do that.
Like that's a missed opportunity, is it not?
I agree. Yeah, having a chest in front of you, make like gold hanging out of it, painted gold. Yeah, that would be
sick.
That would be pretty awesome. Epic. I want to move on to. Let me take this down and bring up the PlayStation 5 logo, and we're gonna talk. Let me get to my other banners. Normally, I don't say what I'm going to do. I just do it. But obviously, this is an impromptu show, and I don't have everything as prepared as normal. With the nearly 300 people watching live, my goodness, thanks, folks, for coming out and hanging out with us. We are almost at an hour. I said this was going to be, we're actually 48 minutes. I said that we were going to only run about an hour. We may run a little bit. And I got to say, man, damn, I'm really disappointed that we couldn't get BitCloud here. He said he was going to be here. Maybe something happened. Obviously family first is a family first show. So if we don't get him on today, I will definitely bring him back, and we will revisit this on next week's show one way or another. Because obviously I do want to, I want to have a PlayStation perspective. And just to give everyone the heads up, this Friday there is not going to be a new Breakfast with Boom. Mrs. Boomstick does have a very early doctor's appointment that we cannot miss. So we're not going to be doing a show, but we are having, and I already put it out there, and I'll do another tweet. I am having the Double Barrel Gaming Presents Game of the Year 2019 show with my brother Neo Mental, as well as two longtime friends in Jay the Retro Gamer, as well as Jay the Destroyer. This is something that we did privately for years, that we would have our Game of the Year dinner. Yeah, it's a little nerdy, but it's something that, we all used to work together in Funkoland way back in the days. And now, as older men, we get together, once a year to do this, this dinner. We get, to rekindle some memories, and we get to talk about what we enjoyed about gaming. And now, because I actually have a voice in the community, we decided to make it public so we can share our thoughts, opinions, and excitement for not only what happened in 2019, but what's going to happen in 2020. That show is going to be going live at noon on Saturday, a very rare Saturday podcast from MrBooMStick and the channel, but we're going to do that then. So if you're interested in finding out what we enjoyed, hated, and we're disappointed about 2019 and what we're excited about 2020, tune in on Saturday. But let's get into CES 2020, Zemi. Now, last night, obviously, as primetime gaming was live at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, I believe that Sony was up on stage, and there was a lot of talk going into this particular event, simply because, and Zemi, I'll get your opinion in a second. For me personally, I felt that because Sony had removed themselves from so many shows in 2019, and because they seemed as if they got caught with their pants down, so to speak, with the December 12th reveal of the Series X and Senua's Saga, that this was their opportunity to respond, to snatch back that mind share that has been grasped tightly by Phil Spencer and Microsoft. So if you want to, okay, so what did Boom expect? What did I expect for Sony to do? Well, certainly a lot more than Jim Ryan brought to the table. We got word early in the week, last week, that Cory Barlog, one of my favorite people in the industry, because obviously God of War was and still is one of my favorite games of 2018. It's probably one of my top 10 games of this entire generation. I love what they do at Sony Santa Monica. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table, either in a part 2 or a new IP. Hopefully we'll get both. And he was confirmed to be there. So when I heard that, as a gamer, as a fan of him, of the company, of the developer that he is in charge of, and of course of Sony, well, I said, no, this is going to be Sony snatching it right back. They're going to show God of War 2, running on the PlayStation 5. Even if it's like a 30-second trail, they're going to show something, some sort of a tech demo to get everyone like bananas crazy about the PlayStation 5. Well, that did not happen. So then Jim Ryan gets on stage and he starts talking. He's talking about very very reminiscent of what Microsoft used to do back in the days that we all disliked, right? When numbers. We don't want to hear about the numbers. We're gamers. All we give a shit about is what games you are bringing to my favorite console. And I thought Jim Ryan would have something important to show us, something important to say about the PlayStation 5. And I watched the video twice. That's as you can see, I'm going to bring up a picture in a second. CNET posted, I think it was like a 6 or 7 minute video of Jim Ryan speaking. And I was actually embarrassed for him because he gets up on there and he's talking about numbers and 105 million consoles. That's very impressive. He re-clarified that Sony's first party is going to be there in the next generation, as strong as ever, and that's great news. I didn't doubt that at all. I think they're really going to bring some amazing and incredible looking experiences for the fan base, for people like myself who love that traditional single player story driven adult themed game. That's what I like. And they're going to bring it. I know that. And he needed to say it, but he didn't have to say it, if you know what I mean. And then he goes on to say this. Folks, I'm going to show you. Right now I'm going to bring up on the screen the PlayStation 5, and I'm like, holy shit! Here we go. Here we go. We're going to see it. And then he says, the banner for the PlayStation 5, and he brings up this screen right in front of us, and basically it's the PlayStation 4 banner that we've seen pretty much the entire generation with a 5. And when he said that, I'm going to show you the PlayStation 5 banner, he paused. And I think he expected, because I expected the crowd to get up and start cheering. Because that's what we do, right? We're nerds. We get excited for silly things. And you could hear a pin drop. So, of course, I clutched my pearls, my virtual pearls, and was devastated for him because he waited for that applause. And you could hear a pin drop, folks. So, of course, I was embarrassed for him because I've been on the stage and I've said things expecting to get something. Even if it's a boo, I'm expecting something, and you get nothing, and it's embarrassing. So I've been in that position. Zemi, when you saw this, when we talked about it, you chuckled. I chuckled because it's not funny. It's disheartening because I expected more. But what are your thoughts on Jim Ryan, the head of Sony, coming to CES, and this is what they brought to the table?
I mean, it's like, show us what the console looks like. Don't show us a logo. We already kind of knew what the logo was going to look like. A 12-year-old with Microsoft Paint, given enough time, could have recreated this. Like, they don't really expand from, like the general logo of like the PlayStation, 2, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4. I mean, we kind of already expected this to be the logo. To show that and to, try to act like that's some big, amazing thing is just, it's kind of embarrassing, especially when you put into consideration a few, like less than a month ago, Xbox went on stage, showed us the actual console of the Xbox Series X, and showed us, in-game or in-engine footage of, a major game that they're working on. It's just really kind of sad and somewhat embarrassing that's what they had to show us when they have things. Like, we know that they have things that they could talk about. I mean, they could have showed us footage of Last of Us 2, being, played on the new hardware. You know what I mean? They could have showed us God of War. Point. They could have even shown a little trailer of Last of Us and gave us like a firm 100% date that the game's going to come out. I mean, they could have given us anything. I know that shows more about, technical stuff and hardware and industry, stuff like that. But I mean, they could have done something besides, what they showed us. And, and especially what they came on, the screen with like their 5 key points. I don't know if you're ready to talk about that yet or not.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll bring that up on the screen right now. Let's bring that right up there. 5 key talking points.
Yeah.
Here they are. I pulled this from CNET. This was what they were talking about. And why don't you break down what they brought up? I mean, you obviously can see it on your screen.
Absolutely.
If you want, go right ahead. Go crazy.
Well, I mean, like, there's like, what is on here that is that impressive? An Ultra HD Blue player. We were talking before this. The Xbox One S has that. The 3D audio, Adobe Atmos, or you know what I'm talking about.
Well, the 3D audio for Sony that they're touting is going to be the next big feature of the PlayStation 5. We already have as in the Xbox One, known as exactly that, Dolby Atmos. This is something that they've had for quite some time, and it's exclusive. Dolby Atmos is exclusive on the Xbox. They made some sort of a deal. That's why it's not called Dolby Atmos 2.0. It's called 3D audio, audio sound.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's a big deal for PlayStation, but it's not like it's brand new cutting edge technology that's being put into this box. It's something that should have probably been introduced into, the PlayStation 4 Pro, but it wasn't, right? The haptics, adaptive triggers. Like, we know that the, Series 2. Like the Xbox,
the Elite Series 2.0 has that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
ultra high speed SSD. We know that the new next gen console, the Xbox console, is going to have that. That's really impressive. What I think that they should have probably done is I believe they already actually showed clips of like Spider-Man load times.
Yes, which is
on
it's a second. It's crazy how fast.
Yeah, which is fantastic. They should have showed that. They should have showed us a video of that, not just like the bland little logo up on the screen. And then hardware-based ray tracing, we know that Xbox is going to have that too. Like, so there's nothing really huge and big up on here. And they didn't really show us any of this. They just they kind of just flopped it up on a screen and read it out, and they didn't go any further than that. And I was actually talking to Boom, before the show started. It kind of seems like to me this entire presentation was like a 12-year-old, like an 8th grader spending 30 minutes on a PowerPoint presentation before school in the morning, where he has to give it out to the class. Like, it does not look prepared. It just looked like they just scrambled and put this together and hope that it would be enough. And in my opinion, I just really don't think it was enough. I think that it would have been better not to show anything at all, because, in my personal opinion, if you're gonna have something, you better not, you shouldn't even do it to begin with. If you're not going to do it right, then don't do it to begin with, in my opinion.
I mean, well, listen, what you're saying is what you're saying is absolutely true. Right. And even though there was a, after your statement to me privately, there was a chuckle regarding the scenario that the picture you painted about being unprepared, an 8-year-old being unprepared for, their diorama that they put together the night before, and all the tape is hanging off, and things aren't hanging right, and it's collapsing in on itself. That's what this seemed like. But I think what's more telling is the fact that there were no specs talked about. And that they continuing this silence on the specs. Now, I'm not calling out anybody in particular. And Lethal Papa was many people were here last night, where there were some snippy people in the chat basically accusing me of lying about or basically rah-rahing for Xbox when I don't have confirmation from Phil himself. Like, he didn't call me on the Phil phone and be like, "Hey Craig, listen, this is what the specs are, go crazy," right? This is a podcast. We speculate. Now, when I have confirmed information, I will tell you live on the air. It's confirmed. And I was accused of hyping up the Xbox over the PS4 based on the numbers that not only myself have talked about, but numerous high-powered people, who I consider the authority of social media, as well as content creation, in Dealer, in Colt Eastwood, in Randall Thor. I keep saying those because guess what, folks? Just like you're here, I tune into their shit too. I'm a fan. I'm a fan at the end of the day. So when they're reporting on it, well, then I have confidence that I can turn around and build a show around the information that they provide, because they're confident enough to provide that information. And I'm gonna harken back onto the 9.2 teraflops versus 12. Right now, this may not seem like a problem, right? If you are in that camp that says power doesn't matter to me, Boom, I don't give a fuck what you say, I'm okay with that, right? You are okay in my book, and come here and come hang out and have a good old time. But what's telling about this entire screen that's up in front of us right now, and I'm going to pull down the banner so we can get a full perspective, is this. There's a lot of blankness on this picture that I pulled directly from the feed that was live on the air last night. This, you could see CNET. I pulled this picture while I was watching their presentation from YouTube. And the telling problem here that no one has decided to talk about, and I figured, well, fuck it, I'm going to talk about it. So here we go. There is no talk of specs. And folks, I understand that Sony is going to supposedly do their own thing in February. This is what we're hearing. As a matter of fact, someone in the chat last night said, and I don't know where they got the information, that this scenario is happening on February 20th, 2020. That's a lot of 20s, and that's great because I'm going to be tuning in. Hopefully, I could live stream that as long as the software gets updated and I can do some live stream stuff as if I was using OBS. That would be awesome, and I would live stream that event because I'm a fan. I want to see Sony bring me as a consumer the best the best of the best. But Zemi, my question to you as we move past the 60-minute mark, which I suspected that we might, are you concerned as someone that considered buying a PS5 that there are no talk of numbers at a conference that is, that historically has brought tech information to their consumers?
No, I mean, I'm not really concerned about it. Like, I'm really not. Like, I'm moderately disappointed, in the fact that Sony just came up and they just didn't really do anything. I mean, honestly, I kind of wish that they wouldn't have even shown up to this event. They missed out, on like 3 other events so far. So why did they specifically come to this? I think it would have been a lot better for them if they would have just held off until February and held their, rumored event then and released as much information as they possibly could then, rather than doing this, because this just kind of puts them, in my opinion, in a weak standing, that they're not showing us this hardware stuff. But as far as like my confidence and Sony in the PlayStation 5, I'm not really worried at all, about the power, about the games. I know PlayStation's going to come out with a good console. Is it going to be better than the Xbox? Probably not. Maybe it will. I don't know. We haven't actually seen like legitimately the specs. We haven't seen what these boxes are, like how much they, like we haven't seen what these boxes can do, I guess is what I mean to say. But as far as my confidence level for, Sony for the PlayStation 5, I'm still just as willing to go out and to drop my $400, $500 on a PS5, the month of or a month after I pick up my my Xbox Series X. And I know that the games are going to play fantastic. I know that the console is going to do everything that I need it to do, and it's going to be a great console. I just think that their marketing, their PR so far has just been really, really weak. I don't think that really impacts my opinion on the quality that their system's going to be, but it does like bring into question, how they're treating the brand and how they're treating their fans, with this. I mean, like I said before, I think Dead Silence would have probably been better than this.
Okay, now that's interesting because I see a lot of people in the chat saying that they agree with you. And some people in the chat are even saying that it might have been better just not to show up at all and just not say anything at this point, because there were expectations. Now, granted, the Xbox community has been in this position more so than Sony regarding having expectations for show Z, right? Like, whether it be an E3, whether it be a Tokyo Game Show or Gamescom or an XO or, their monthly show that they do, because we're starving for the next big information from Microsoft. We, including myself, I've been guilty of having these very lofty expectations and being let down, right? Like, some people say, yeah, take it easy there, Boom. They're probably not going to show anything. And if they do, I'll be pleasantly surprised, right? And that's usually the case. Whereas me, because my glass is always half full. I'm always happy. I'm always excited. And that's never going to change. That's how I am as a human being. That's how I'm going to be as a content creator. So I'm always going to say my glass is half full. So I'm excited, and I let myself down more times than not when something happens and I'm like, shit, man, nothing really happened. I'm disappointed, and that's on me. But there are a lot of people in the community, and again, this is not attacking one community. I'm just saying community as a whole, that expected Sony to show something, to be there, to have a presence that would show that their fan base, their diehard fans, the loudest diehard fans of the community, that they were not going to take this punch on the chin laying down. And unfortunately, they didn't even bother showing up. Even though they were there showing me a banner of the PlayStation 5 was not confidence building. Staying silent on the numbers has not been showing anybody confidence. As a matter of fact, and this was spoken about on the Iron Lords podcast on Sunday that I suggest everyone get and listen to, because that was a fantastic show, that what's going on now with Sony reminds a lot of people, including myself, of what happened during the E3 where the PlayStation 4 Pro was supposed to be shown off and pulled at the last minute because it was going to be the lesser, more powerful console. And obviously, now again, again, this could be spent multiple ways. People are going to say, "Well, boom, listen, power doesn't matter. Power doesn't matter because Sony sold a gazillion consoles." And I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to say, okay, yeah, you're right. They did sell a whole mess of consoles, but power does matter. At least it matters to me. And this seems very reminiscent of that 2017 Sony, where they were very quiet, did not say much because they knew that they had lost the power crown. And yes, 2018, great year for Sony. Great games, sold a lot of consoles, take nothing away from Sony. But this situation that's in front of us today reminds me of that situation, Zemi, where the Sony has basically just clammed up and haven't said anything. And it might be more telling than them actually saying that they don't have the power, because by not responding to the questions, not just from the Xbox fans asking Sony, what do you got for us? But their fans, their diehard fans, want to know, what's the deal with the power? Why did you choose price over power? And how come you didn't give us, meaning me and anyone else that's going to buy a more powerful PlayStation 5, the same choice that the Microsoft fans are getting with the 2 SKU attack? Why didn't you? Why aren't there 2 SKUs? And if they are, how come you're not talking about it? So, I mean, listen, we can go on all day talking about where I think Sony went wrong. I mean, and we'll close out this particular topic, and we'll stop the show in a few minutes, because obviously, this was an impromptu show, so I don't have a lot prepared because it was just 2 things to talk about. But Zemi, I mean, do you get the same feeling that I get with the silent Sony in 2020 and in 2019 leading up to the new year, as it was the silent Sony in 2017 leading up to the Xbox One X?
Yeah, slightly. Yeah. But I think that there is a key difference in that, at least at that time, Sony, they had a lot of stuff like in their back pocket that, that definitely excited and invigorated the PlayStation platform. Whereas now it's like, we have no idea. It kind of seems like Xbox is holding all the cards and Sony is just sitting there trying to figure out how to not lose all their money and go bankrupt. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Sony's going to go out of out of business. I'm just saying, like, figuratively, in like a card game. It's very similar, but in some ways it's also a little bit different, because Xbox seems to be holding all the cards, whereas at least in 2017, PlayStation, they still had a lot of things, above them, but a lot of the things that PlayStation has now doesn't really seem as big as what Xbox is doing. I mean, Xbox has xCloud. They're killing it with Game Pass. They're definitely looking to be the most consumer friendly, company going into this next generation. And even this, the latter half of this generation. They have all these new first party, game studios. Are the, first party games going to be good? That's yet to be seen. But, they have that tool now that they didn't before. Whereas, back in, 2017, Xbox didn't have all of this different stuff. And now they do, versus Sony. So I do think it's a little bit different, but it is also similar. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's going to be interesting nonetheless. I'm expecting that both next generation consoles are going to be fantastic, even though one is assumingly going to be less powerful. That's a question that Sony is going to have to take on should the 9.2 versus 12 be true, right? I mean, obviously, this is speculation, right? No one has come out and said, I mean, Phil said that at least that it's double the power. So you can assume 12 teraflops. And that's the number that a lot of inside sources have been talking about. We don't really know too much about Sony. We have heard from those same inside sources that based on, data mining and, and other forms of investigating what the power is going to be, that the AMD chip in the PlayStation 5 is at 9.219 teraflops. Now, whether or not those both come to fruition or not, well, we're going to have to wait for their events. But I'll close out by saying very simply, if this in fact was false, Sony, being the marketing magicians that they are, the marketing masters that they have proven this generation that they are, and one of their strong points of their success, would have come out and said, that is absolutely incorrect, but we will give you the official numbers and come out and say, we're going to be doing an event in February X, whatever. And they haven't said anything. So them not saying anything, again, harkens back to what happened with the PlayStation 4 Pro. That was a half step, and people were disappointed. Now, I've owned 2 Pros. As a matter of fact, I've owned 4 PlayStation 4s this generation. I'm not ashamed to say that. I right now, I'm currently rocking the God of War PlayStation 4 Pro, which I absolutely love because I love the game. And I love the controller, and I'm never getting rid of it. But I think that Sony, again, it's a bit telling for them not to come out and say this is incorrect. They have not challenged the 9.2 teraflop claim, and I think that's a bit of a problem. So if they're not challenging that, and people are like, well, they're kind of just keeping their cards close to their vest, Boom, and don't you worry, 13 teraflops. We're going to slap you across your face live on your show. And if this PlayStation 5 is 13 teraflops and they just kind of, they're playing coy or possum, if you will, then it's going to be one up on Boom, and I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow. But I've only reported on what has been reported by others. I have not said one time that this information is confirmed, lock it in by BoomStick. I've never said that. But this has been a great show. This has been an hour and 15 plus minutes of a show that I didn't expect to have, but I was so excited to talk about what was going on that we had almost 325 people. We have, almost 330 people watching right now. And that is mind blowing for me, being this is still a relatively small channel. I want to thank everyone for coming out, hanging out with us. I want to apologize because I advertised as BitCloud being here, and I have not heard back from him. So I'm hoping that maybe he overslept or something, that nothing serious happened, because obviously, life happens. As long as there's nothing serious with his family, he'll be back on. He's on Breakfast with Boom every week. But Zemi, I want to thank you for being here, because otherwise I'd have been talking here for an hour and 15 minutes by myself and gave myself laryngitis. But do me a favor, obviously on your way out the door, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, because 500, come on, 500 is ridiculous. We need to get more followers for Zemi. He does, does interact with the community. He does have an amazing YouTube channel. So do me a favor, Zemi, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, because we need those numbers up, and check out your awesome YouTube channel.
Well, absolutely. And first off, thank you so much for throwing me that invite. It was super late notice, but I absolutely had to hop in here. And it was a ton of fun doing this great show. If you guys enjoyed my opinions, definitely check me out on Twitter. It's at Zimmy Games. My DMs are always open, so feel free to send me a message if you ever want to talk about games or anything like that. In addition to being on Twitter, I'm also on YouTube. I do a bunch of gaming content, gaming news, reviews, unboxings, let's plays, all sorts of gaming content. So if you like that type of stuff, and you probably do, definitely go check out that channel and subscribe. It's called Zimmy Games, and it's pretty easy to find. Just search it in the search bar and you'll find me up. But thank you so much, Boom. This was a fantastic show.
Well, yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for the 330 people watching live. Of course, I want to thank Lito Papa for keeping it a safe and fun place to hang out. Of course, I have to thank everyone that donated into the Super Chat. That is very, very kind of you. Every dollar, helps Boom get to E3, and I will be going to E3 2020 with the Iron Lords once again. And I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you. Hopefully we get a lot of people from the community to come out there and we can hang out and, have a drink, because I'll have a Dr. Pepper. I don't drink, but we can, hang out and enjoy E3 as fans. I want to wish everyone a great rest of your today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, today. Oh yes. My God, I've lost track of days. Have a great Tuesday, and Zemi and myself, as well as the Welsh Gamer, and of course special guest appearance from Mads Gaming, will be on Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast at its regular scheduled time at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will see you there. Once again, thank you for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day.